George Washington Carver. George Washington Carver was a renowned scientist, inventor, and educator. He was the most prominent African American scientist of the early 20th century. George Washington Carver was born into slavery in Missouri. While he was an infant, he, a sister, and their mother were kidnapped and sold to a slaveholder in Kentucky. George alone was returned to his former owner in Missouri. Thereafter, George and his siblings were raised by a slave owner. The family taught George how to read and write. He would remain dedicated to education despite many obstacles. Black people weren't allowed to attend the nearby school, so every day he traveled nearly 10 miles to school. His determination paid off, and he eventually graduated high school. After high school, George began to study botany. He was the first black student at Iowa Agricultural College, now called Iowa State University. George proved to be a gifted botanist, and many of his teachers encouraged him to continue to graduate school. In 1896, he was recruited by prominent African American leader Booker T. Washington to lead the agriculture department at Tuskegee Institute. George's research showed farmers new ways to keep their soil healthy by planting crops other than cotton, including peanuts. His study transformed the industry. Throughout the South, farmers began to plant and use peanuts in new ways. George became the most well-known scientist in the country. He was not only promoted the use of peanuts for agricultural purposes, but he also created several recipes and products that showed how the food source could be successfully used. George's work in botany dramatically increased peanut production in the United States. His work gained respect from politicians and scientists, both at home and abroad. His work continues to influence the food, agriculture, and botany fields. When you can do the common things of life in an uncommon way, you will command the attention of the world. Explore more! George Washington Carver discovered more than 300 ways to use the peanut. You can find a list on the Tuskegee University website at tuskegee.edu.